everyone, welcome back to my channel. Have you ever felt like a woman pulled you closer, just to disappear the moment you leaned in? That unsettling feeling in your chest, that quiet confusion, it's not random, it's psychological. And if you don't understand it, you will always be one step behind her emotions, never in control of your own. Before we go deeper, take a second to subscribe and like this video, because what I'm about to share with you isn't common advice. It's the kind of insight most men realize far too late. Listen carefully. When a woman is truly obsessed, she doesn't behave the way you expect. She doesn't chase you in a straight line. She doesn't make it easy. Instead, she creates emotional tension on purpose. Not to hurt you, but because her feelings are so intense that she needs to manage them without losing control of herself. And this is where most men get it completely wrong. You think distance means disinterest. Silence means she's losing attraction. But in many cases, it's the opposite. When her emotions become overwhelming, she instinctively pulls back, not because she doesn't care, but because she cares too much. It's a defense mechanism, a way to protect her emotional balance while still staying connected to you. This is the psychology trick. She gives you just enough attention to keep you emotionally invested, then withdraws just enough to make you question everything. And that question, the uncertainty, that's what binds you to her even deeper. You start thinking about her more. You start analyzing every message. You start chasing clarity. And without realizing it, you're emotionally hooked. But here's the deeper truth most men never hear. She's not doing this like a calculated game. It's often subconscious. It's driven by her emotional wiring, her fear of vulnerability, and her desire to feel desired without fully surrendering control. So when you react with neediness, frustration, or pressure, you break the dynamic completely. You turn attraction into tension of the wrong kind. Understanding this changes everything, because once you see the pattern, you stop reacting emotionally, and you start responding with awareness. Now here's where it becomes dangerous for you. Because once you're inside this emotional loop, your mind starts working against you. You replay her words. You overanalyze her tone. You start attaching meaning to silence. And slowly, without realizing it, your emotional stability becomes dependent on her behavior. That's not attraction anymore. That's psychological attachment forming under pressure. And she feels it. Women are extremely sensitive to emotional shifts. When you start leaning in too hard, when your energy becomes anxious instead of grounded, something changes inside her. That same obsession she felt begins to cool, not because you did something wrong on the surface, but because the emotional balance flipped. You stopped being the center of calm and became the source of pressure. This is why the push-pull dynamic exists so naturally. When she feels you slipping into neediness, she pulls away to regain her emotional control. When you pull back and refocus on yourself, she feels the space, and suddenly, her attention comes rushing back. It's not a coincidence, it's emotional calibration. But here's the truth that most men struggle to accept. The more you chase clarity, the more confused you become. Because her behavior isn't meant to be logically decoded in a straight line. It's felt, it's emotional. It moves in waves, not in fixed patterns. So when you send that extra message, when you ask, "What's wrong?" when you try to force reassurance, you're actually interrupting the very tension that creates her attraction. And she won't explain this to you, not because she's hiding something, but because she often doesn't fully understand it herself. She just knows how she feels in response to your energy. That's why the strongest position you can hold is emotional self-control. Not silence as a tactic, not distance as a game, but genuine stability within yourself. When you stop reacting impulsively, something shifts. You become unpredictable in a different way, not confusing, but grounded. And that grounded presence is what draws her back in, again and again. Because obsession doesn't grow in certainty, it grows in emotional tension, balanced by just enough mystery to keep her invested. Now let me take you deeper, because this is the part most men never see until it's too late. When a woman becomes emotionally obsessed, she starts testing without even realizing she's testing. Not in the way you might think. She's not setting traps or playing games like a script. It's subtler than that. It shows up in how she slightly delays a reply, how she changes her tone, how she gives you warmth one moment and distance the next. And every single time she's watching one thing, your emotional reaction. Not what you say, not how clever your words are, but how stable you remain when her energy shifts. Because deep down, obsession comes with fear. The more she feels for you, the more she risks losing control, getting hurt, or being emotionally exposed. So her mind looks for reassurance, not through your promises, but through your behavior under pressure. If you become reactive, if your mood starts depending on her actions, if you show that her smallest withdrawal unsettles you, something clicks inside her. She feels powerful, but at the same time, less safe. And that's the contradiction that confuses men. You think showing how much you care will bring her closer, but when that care turns into emotional dependency, it actually removes the very tension that made her obsessed in the first place. Because now she doesn't have to wonder about you anymore. And obsession feeds on wondering. It feeds on that quiet question in her mind. Is he fully mine, or not yet? The moment the answer becomes too certain, the intensity begins to fade. That's why men who stay centered, who don't rush to close every emotional gap, create a completely different experience. They don't ignore her, they don't play cold, but they also don't collapse under emotional pressure. They allow space, they allow mystery, and most importantly, they allow her to come toward them emotionally instead of chasing her for reassurance. This is where real power begins, not control over her, but control over yourself. Because when you stop trying to manage her feelings and start mastering your own responses, you become the one person she can't easily figure out. And that uncertainty, that emotional tension, that's what keeps her thinking about you long after the conversation ends. Here's the part most men completely miss, and it's the reason so many get trapped in obsessive loops with women they can't fully have. A woman's obsession is rarely about you personally. It's about how you make her feel when she experiences tension and intrigue, balanced with safety. She doesn't consciously calculate this every time she texts or pulls away. It's instinct. She's wired to respond emotionally, to the subtle cues in your behavior, your energy, your confidence, and yes, your restraint. When you react emotionally to her push, her subconscious mind senses the imbalance. The intensity she once felt starts to waver. And the interesting part? The more you chase, the less she obsesses. Her mind craves that pull-pull-pause rhythm, that pattern of closeness followed by absence. It's like a rhythm she can't resist because it triggers deep-seated emotional circuits wired to desire what feels just out of reach. But here's the dangerous secret. Obsession can flip on a dime. If she senses desperation, insecurity, or overinvestment, the emotional energy she once gave freely starts to retract. And suddenly, the woman who seemed captivated may drift. That's when men panic, doubling down, sending more messages, begging for clarity. But this only confirms to her subconscious mind that she now holds the upper hand, and it weakens your presence in her psyche. To truly trigger and sustain obsession, you must be a paradox. Present, but untouchable. Attentive, but not available on demand. Warm, but not consumed by her energy. This is not manipulation, it's self-mastery. It's the understanding that her intense attraction depends less on what you do and more on how emotionally steady you remain under the pressure of her unpredictable behavior. And the real power? It's subtle. You don't need grand gestures or constant reassurance. You simply hold yourself as the calm center in the storm of her feelings. When she tests, you don't collapse. When she withdraws, you don't chase. When she obsesses, you don't exploit it. You let it flow naturally, giving her the space to crave your presence instead of your attention. Most men think obsession is about making a woman want them. The truth is far deeper. Obsession is about maintaining emotional equilibrium while creating a magnetic, irresistible tension she can't ignore. When you learn this, you're no longer reacting, you're guiding. You're no longer desperate, you're the quiet force she can't stop thinking about. Now let's expose the layer almost no one talks about, the invisible thread that keeps her coming back, even when she acts distant or uninterested. When a woman is obsessed, It's rarely just about attraction in the physical sense. It's about emotional resonance. She's drawn to how you make her feel, the calm in your presence, the unpredictability of your attention, the way you can remain grounded when her emotions are chaotic. These are not surface traits. They penetrate her subconscious. They make her think about you when she's alone, wonder about you when she's with friends, and question her own feelings when she doesn't hear from you. And this is exactly why most men fail. They get caught up in the external signs, texts, likes, gestures, and forget the most potent element, the psychological space they create. Obsession doesn't grow in certainty. It grows in the tension between desire and restraint. It grows in subtle power shifts where she senses she can't fully control you, yet feels emotionally compelled to. Here's what happens inside her mind. Every slight delay, every unread message, every quiet confidence on your part acts like a magnet. She starts rationalizing, analyzing, replaying moments, imagining possibilities. Her brain releases dopamine in anticipation of your interaction, anticipation she doesn't even consciously recognize. That's the neurological hook. That's why obsession can feel overwhelming, and why you might see inconsistent behavior. She's literally wrestling with her own emotions. And the men who lose this battle? They try to force clarity, demand consistency, or over-explain their feelings. That's the fatal mistake. It shifts the balance. It turns tension into anxiety. It replaces attraction with pressure. And nothing kills obsession faster than pressure. The men who succeed? They hold themselves like a lighthouse in her storm. They are emotionally unshakable, quietly magnetic, responsive but not reactive. They allow her mind to run circles around her feelings without needing to control the outcome. They understand that obsession is a dance of energy, not a checklist of behaviors. Once you internalize this, your presence becomes rare and precious in her mind. You are no longer one option among many. You become the question she can't answer, the mystery she can't solve, the pull she can't resist, even when she tries. This is why awareness changes everything. Because when you learn to occupy your own emotional space fully, her obsession doesn't need manipulation. It becomes inevitable. Finally, let's reveal the truth that separates men who are forgotten from men who remain unforgettable. Obsession is not about control, games, or forcing her attention. It's about emotional alignment, being the man who triggers the exact balance of desire, tension, and security in her subconscious mind. When she feels safe enough to explore her emotions but uncertain enough to crave your presence, that's when obsession blooms naturally. And most men never grasp this because they mistake obsession for love or validation. They think it's about winning her, when in reality, it's about mastering themselves. Here's the core principle. Women are wired to seek emotional depth, not superficial effort. They are drawn to men who can hold themselves steadily when emotions run wild, who can remain calm while chaos swirls, and who radiate confidence without arrogance. The moment you anchor yourself in emotional stability while still remaining unpredictable in your attention and energy, you create the invisible gravity that pulls her in, again and again. Notice how this isn't about manipulation. It's about psychology. It's about understanding how her mind works, how her desires and fears interact, and how to create a magnetic tension that she cannot ignore. Every pull, every pause, every quiet presence you maintain fuels the obsession without a word being spoken. And the ultimate paradox? The less you try to make her obsessed, the more she becomes. Obsession doesn't respond to force. It responds to your mastery over your own emotional world. When you are calm in the storm, patient in the silence, and unshakable under testing, she cannot help but be drawn toward you, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. Men who understand this don't chase. They don't beg. They don't plead for clarity or validation. They understand that the psychology of attraction is subtle, relentless, and deeply subconscious. And once you see this clearly, you are no longer vulnerable to confusion, frustration, or emotional manipulation. You are the presence that lingers in her mind, the unspoken pull she cannot resist, the man she obsesses over without even realizing why. Because obsession isn't built on words, it's built on energy. And when you master yours, you become irresistible.